Okay, in this tutorial I'm going to help you answer a question on land use conflicts. Now I'm going to give you a National 5 material that you can use, and then I'm also going to show you how you can develop that up to a full-blown higher answer. Now in this question you're going to be asked for a landscape you've studied, and in this context it's going to be a glaciated landscape. It will be Loch Lomond and the Trossachs. What you want to do is you want to focus on a couple of conflicts. For National 5 you might get asked up to 6 marks, and you'll be asked to refer to specific conflicts that you've studied. So in this first one, we're looking at the conflict between farmers and tourists. And the first conflict here is that very often there's not enough parking areas for visitors to national parks like Loch Lomond and Trossachs. So what they do is they park off-road on the sides of roads. Now that creates two problems. First of all, it creates a lot of erosion on the edges of the roads, and that these cars can often damage farmers' fences if they park and back up against them, which then is at the cost of the farmer. Second of all, this parking on both sides is blocking this road, which can make it very difficult for a farmer to use the road to get to his fields, which can delay him and cause him more money. Also, sometimes members of the public will park across gateways to farmers' fields, thus preventing access and affecting their ability to do the work. Other conflicts we can see here is that tourists often leave their litter or camp on farmers' land and leave litter on the farmer's land, and it then becomes the responsibility of the farmer to have to clear that, which is at their cost. This litter can also furthermore affect animals that might consume some of the rubbish that's been left, and that might damage animals' health. Okay, sticking with this conflict, walkers walking up hillsides in rural areas will be inevitably walking across farmers' land. This can lead to footpath erosion. We can see here the feet are starting to wear away the land, which rainwater is then further removing the soil, creating this gullying effect. And because this is on the farmer's land, it can often be at the cost of the farmer. Also, what tourists will often do is they will, if there's not a gate, they'll climb across farmers' fields, and if these are stone walls, over time, repeated climbing over these walls will cause damage to these stone walls, cause them to collapse. Once again, that will be a problem for the farmer who has to repair it. What can also happen, if I just jump back one, is that gates can often be left open by walkers, which can allow animals to escape, like sheep and cattle. This final conflict to do with this particular case study is where tourists bring their dogs, and the dogs, if let off the leash, can attack sheep. And there's certainly been incidents in Loch Lomond and Trossachs where a number of sheep have been killed. Right, that's one specific conflict, and I've given you about sort of 4 or 5 things you can talk about. Other conflicts, if you're asked to write about 2, you could talk about the conflict between tourists and energy companies. So, for example, energy companies want to build wind turbines on the hillsides. That affects the views, which can impact on the tourists' willingness to come to those areas, which will affect profits for the local communities. If you're building dams, for example, for hydroelectricity, that can lead to flooding of landscapes, which means a loss of land, which can impact on farmers, but also can ruin the landscape. Other conflicts you can refer to if you're writing a higher answer, because you want to really develop this, is you could talk about conflicts on the loch itself. So tourists coming and traveling high speed on jet skis and motorboats, which disrupts the local residents because it creates noise. It also affects fishing and affects anglers who become less willing to come to the area and spend their money. Other conflicts are that these areas become highly sought after and people want to buy property on them, which then drives up house prices, and that means that local residents can't afford to rent there. Other conflicts that have been experienced in Loch Lomond are campers coming for the weekend, drinking a lot of alcohol, creating a lot of abuse and violence with local communities, also leaving a lot of their rubbish in the loch side, which then needs to be cleaned up by the local community itself. Also, campers can cut down trees in the local area because they want to have fires at night, which starts to cause a degradation of the land, and also it can affect the wildlife in the area as there's a loss of vegetation. So I've given you a range of conflicts that could specifically, a couple of conflicts for a National 5 answer, or a whole range of conflicts if it was a higher answer.